Adelaide right now is one of the most interesting and compelling markets in capital city Australia. Now, it may surprise you a little bit to hear me say that because I find generally that Adelaide's quite a hard sell when I talk to property investors around Australia. Adelaide has this perception of being a low growth city, both in terms of population growth, economy, and also with its property market. But in actual fact, Adelaide has been through a number of periods of very, very strong price growth in the recent past. And I'm expecting that it's going to soon come into another growth period. And the reason for that is because there are some very, very strong and exciting things happening in the underlying economy, which is so pivotal for the property market in any capital city. It's always about what's happening in the local economy, whether the economy is growing, whether jobs are being created, whether the population is growing, whether infrastructure spending is strong or otherwise. And that all feeds into the local property market. And for all of those reasons, we're expecting that Adelaide's going to be a strong performer. And I noticed that some of the other independent analysts who put out regular reports with their predictions, both on economic matters and for property markets, some of those are also predicting strong things for Adelaide. The South Australian economy is stronger than many people realise. It's rising up the rankings. The unemployment rate in South Australia is actually lower than all other states and territories except New South Wales and Victoria, the two strongest economies in the land at the moment. Business confidence is higher in Adelaide than in any other capital city in Australia, according to the various surveys. And there's some very, very big things coming up in the Adelaide economy. The contracts to build vessels for the Navy are the biggest of those over the next, say, 20 or more years. The contracts to build frigates and submarines and other vessels for the Navy costing up to $90 billion. This is massive for a city the size of Adelaide. And that work is actually starting now. It's under construction in terms of the facility where they're going to be building some of those major vessels. So this is going to be a huge boost for the Adelaide economy. But there are other things happening as well. Adelaide actually is the national capital for high-tech innovation, and a number of really big companies, both national companies and international companies, move their headquarters to Adelaide for that reason. So there's a lot happening in that regard. It's also South Australia is the national capital for alternative energy, solar farms, wind farms, and that type of energy. It's leading the nation on that. It's also a significant resource estate, and the resources sector is now reviving and coming back strongly. Projects are cranking up, creating jobs. So all of this feeds into the property market for Adelaide, which also benefits from its relative affordability. Adelaide offers great value for money, particularly when you compare pricing and the quality of dwellings with the bigger cities like Sydney and Melbourne. Rental yields are also attractively high compared to those bigger cities. So a lot to offer, a lot more coming up than I think many people around Australia realise. And I think Adelaide as a property market is going to surprise people. But we won't be surprised when Adelaide starts to show some growth. It is showing moderate growth as a generalised figure for the entire market. But if you look at individual market segments, you find there are some that are doing much better than the average, and in particular, and very importantly, the top end. Now, most upcycles in our capital cities start with the prestige market. It's usually the prime suburbs that move first, and gradually over time the growth ripples out to the middle ring and then to the outer ring laterally. So when the top end of the market is moving strongly, it's usually a sign that a cycle is starting. There are a couple of cities in Australia where that's actually happening right now, and Adelaide is one of them. To give you an idea, some of the suburbs of Adelaide with median prices above $1 million have shown double-digit growth in their prices in the last 12 months, including a number which have grown more than 20%. So it's a sign that something is moving in that market. It's one to keep an eye on. So if you haven't got a copy of the top 5 Adelaide Hotspots report, get it. And if you've got it, read it, because for investors around Australia aware that Melbourne and Sydney are no longer pumping and looking for where next, Adelaide is one of those places worth considering. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. Talk to you again soon.